What's going on, everyone? So Gabe Vincent has been bad, to put it nicely. Well, there's other words that you could probably use to describe Gabe Vincent's play thus far on the season for the Lakers, but I'm going to be nice and I'm going to just use the word bad. So far, though it's early in the season, but so far through 6 games, he's averaging 17.7 minutes. He's getting 4.5 attempts. He is shooting 29.6% from the floor. He's shooting under 30%, not from 3, which we're going to talk about here in a moment, from the floor, period. His field goal percentage is 29.6%. His last year for the Lakers, he shot 30.6%, and that was terrible on the same amount of attempts, 4.5. He is shooting an abysmal 18.8% from 3 on 2.7 attempts. He shot 10.7% on 2.5 attempts last season. So basically, since he's came to the Lakers, he has been a 30% from the field guy. He is shooting average 15% from 3, and he's shooting 45.5% from 2-point range on 1.8 attempts. At least the previous year, he shot 57.1% on 2-point attempts on 1.9 attempts. So he's getting the same level of production, and he has been bad. Now, also, you got to keep in mind, this isn't a guy who averages like 15 attempts per game, because that's usually the argument, right? Like, well, he's going from 10 attempts to 4. No, I mean, you look at, he averaged 4.5 and 4.5 this season and last season since he's been on the Lakers. He's been 4.5 field goals a game. His first 2 years in Miami, he was averaging 4.7 attempts, and he wasn't efficient, right? He averaged 5 points. The best season he had in that range of 4.7 attempts, shot 37.8% from the floor. This is 2020-2021 season. 4.7 attempts, so 0.2 attempts more. Shot 38% from the floor. He shot 31% from 3 on 3 attempts, and he shot 50% from 2-point range on 1.7 attempts. So, to look at comparison, this is who he is when he gets those attempts. Now, his best overall season was the 2022-2023 season, in which he averaged 8.3 attempts, but still only shot 40% from the floor. 33.4% from 3-point range on 5 attempts, and 51.2% from 2-point range on 3.2 attempts. That season he averaged 9.4 points. So it's kind of who he is, right? This is the type of player that he is. And the idea, though, is that he's a guy that elevates come the playoffs, right? He's a guy that in the playoffs will bump up to 12 points per game, and he shoots, 38 to 40% from 3, and he can get after it. He's not afraid of the moment, right? You look at a guy like a D'Angelo Russell, he kind of falls off come playoff time, where Vincent is a guy that raises. So the idea is like, okay, he gives you the defense, he gives you a different look from a D'Lo and Reeves. And when you get to the playoffs, if D'Lo starts to decline slightly, hopefully Gabe Vincent can elevate enough to where it can kind of offset at least. Kind of balance each other out. Where D'Lo doesn't just fall off a cliff, but adds a bit of a decline, but Gabe Vincent kind of raises up. So D'Lo goes and averages, say 6 less points, but Gabe Vincent's going to average 8 more points. So you kind of get that balance. Then you get the defense and all that stuff. And his 3-point percentage essentially doubles, right? Like he's just a different person in the playoffs, which I get. And look, I understood the idea of bringing in Gabe Vincent when the Lakers did. You lose Dennis Schroeder. You need that point of attack defensive guy. And it's like, Gabe Vincent, as I pointed out, not great, but at least consistent. At least you kind of know what you're going to get from him. Where Dennis Schroeder, outside of this year, apparently Dennis Schroeder is Michael Jordan this year. The dude has been insane. The guy has been unbelievable this year for the Brooklyn Nets. But usually, from what we've seen with the Lakers, Dennis Schroeder's numbers are actually very similar to Gabe Vincent's shooting-wise, percentage-wise, right? But Dennis Schroeder has this like higher upside, where it's like, when he's on, he go get you 22 and 8, right? But like the next game, he'll give you like 2 points and 2 assists and be like 1 of 11, right? Where it's like Gabe Vincent, the upside's not as good, But like game in and game out, like, you're going to get like 6 to 10 points a game. Boom, 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 boom. Right? That's kind of what he is and who he is. Problem is, our bench is terrible. And Gabe Vincent is supposed to be that veteran leader. He's supposed to be that guy off the bench that has experience, was arguably the third best player on that Miami Heat team when they went on that run. And right now, we're so incredibly reliant on a 21-year-old who, yes, is in his third season, but might as well be a rookie. This is his first real opportunity. He went from zero opportunity, playing spot minutes at best. Sometimes he'd get a good night, but for the most part, it was just, you don't know when you're ever going to play. We need you to be our sixth best player on this team overnight. And then Dalton Knecht is a rookie, literally, had never played in the NBA prior. And now you're asking him to come in and provide some consistency. And you've seen from both of these guys, very inconsistent play. You've seen some promise from both, right? Particularly Dalton Knecht and his ability to shoot the basketball. Max Christie, I think, he's at a position at times, he's had his struggles, don't get me wrong, but defensively, he's been good enough for a 21-year-old kid who's asked to play such a big role. Been better than everyone else, right? So the problem is that you're so reliant on these two young guys when you should be able to have a guy in a Gabe Vincent that is at least giving you double digits, right? At least giving you some level of production, giving you something, and you're just not getting that from him. And his defense isn't so good that it justifies his poor offensive production, right? And him, with his age and his contract, you don't have the justification, at least with Max Christie, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, Max Christie's making $8 million a year. Yeah, but he's also 21 years old. And in a year or two, his contract might be Austin Reeves level value, right? Like, give this kid some time. Let's see what he looks like 30 games into the season, 40 games into the season, right? Like, before we really start judging this guy. Right? So you look at a guy like Max Christie, it's like, okay, well, he's 21. He has an entire career ahead of him, and he's not that bad of a contract, right? But you look at Gabe Vincent, it's like he's 28, which isn't old by NBA standards, but he is the player who he is at this point. He's not like all of a sudden going to become this entirely different player that we never saw and expected, right? Point is I would rather have Max Christie at this point than Gabe Vincent. Max Christie is at least giving you better production, right? Playing better defense, and at least the upside's higher, right? And he's giving you $3 million less. And then, you look at Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell. The idea, again, of Gabe Vincent is to give you a different look from those two. D'Lo and Reeves are very similar, right? Reeves has been very good defensively, but he's not elite. He's not, Clamps. He's not Jared Vanderbilt level, but he's not this athletic guy. Not that, Gabe Vincent is athletic, but Gabe Vincent is he gives you that defense, that point of attack. The idea and concept, again, makes sense alongside an Austin Reeves, alongside a D'Lo. So a Gabe and D'Lo, a Gabe and Reeves, just gives you that different element, gives you that different look, right? And, I mean, even going into the season, and even last season, there was an argument of starting Gabe Vincent over bringing Austin Reeves off the bench or bringing D'Lo off the bench. Not because he was necessarily better than these two, but just because it made more sense for the balance of defense and offense. And the idea of okay, Gabe Vincent is that 3-and-D point guard that usually plays well alongside a playmaker, because he can just initiate the offense, get you into your actions. Right? You look at guys like Avery Bradley, a George Hill, a Mario Chalmers, a Norris Cole, right? Initiate the offense, get the ball to LeBron, and now you're off to the races, and he's opening up and getting free. And then you have a guy like D'Lo that can make plays and whatnot. The idea is there. And then you get a guy like J.J. Redick, and it's like, wow, Gabe Vincent might even be better because of the style of offense. You don't really need this traditional playmaking point guard. You just need somebody that can get you into your actions and initiate your offense, and then, provide that 3-and-D shooting. And it's like Gabe Vincent would be perfect at that role. And he just has not panned out thus far. Now, to be fair, if we're going to be fair and we're going to be honest, right? Gabe Vincent did miss like the entire season last year, so you need to kind of give him time. It's been 6 games. Does he kind of get his legs under him? Does he kind of figure it out? And if he does, then he is valuable, right? And I'm not saying he has to shoot the lights out, but if he can be, say, 36, 37% from 3, okay, well, now his 3-point shooting is where you need him to be. And then his defense, it's like, okay, well, if he's giving you, say, 8 points while being your best point of attack guard, okay, now there's some justification. Now it makes some sense. Now also, if you trade D'Lo, it's like, okay, well, maybe you can even start Gabe Vincent, right? Like, there's options there. You get some flexibility. But at the rate that Gabe Vincent is going, it's just, you have to get rid of him at this point. You do. And I mean, the Lakers are shopping him in the offseason, and they're probably going to continue to shop him, I would imagine, right? But the problem is the value. Like, a lot of people are like, well, Gabe Vincent's been so bad, like, why would anyone want to take him? There's a lot of reasons, particularly the new CBA, right? And he's going to be an add-on for salary. Like, you're probably not swapping, a $10 million for $10 million guy. One, you might get a young team that wants just the veteran leadership. I mean, look at, like, the Houston Rockets and how they overpaid for, like, several guys, right? Like, Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet and, Jeff Green and guys like that, like, overpaid what their market value was just to bring them in for their young guys. So you could probably get a team that's just like, hey, you know what? We could use Gabe Vincent. He's hard-nosed, gets after it, be a guy that has finals experience, a guy that is just a veteran leader, right? Bring him in. You might be able to get a team to do that because his contract isn't like that bad. I mean, based on his production thus far, but I'm talking about, like, he's not making 18 million. He's making 11 million, right? But also, the biggest reason why there's probably a team would probably take him on is because it's better to pay 11 million than it is to pay, say, 36 million, right? So say he's added in for, like, the Jeremy Grant deal, right? Well, would you rather pay Jeremy Grant 35 million a year, or would you rather pay Gabe Vincent 11 million a year, because you're taking on, like, D'Lo and stuff like that to dump salary? And it's like, okay, well, we got to take one bad contract. We're giving up a bad contract to take on a bad contract. But you'd rather have the 11 million for the next, because you got to remember, he's a free agent, not next season, but the following season, because he only had 3-year deal. So he's a guy that you'd only have to digest for 1 more year. And you might even be able to trade next year. So there is value, and some teams are going to see value, particularly, again, with the new CBA and the way the new CBA has shaped up. So there's teams that, again, are going to look at it and go, man, like, I'd rather pay Gabe Vincent 11 million for another year than pay, Jeremy Grant or a Zach LaVine, right? We got to pay Zach LaVine 43, 44 million the next few years. What would you rather have? Would you rather have a Gabe Vincent that you're paying 11 million that you can maybe even trade in some type of salary dump trade or something like that, or to another team to maybe get a piece or an asset because he's expiring next year? There's teams that would want Gabe Vincent even beyond the lack of play, but it makes it harder, right? Because if he was really good, one, now he has more value to a team, and 2, he has more value to you, right? So maybe you're not looking to move off of Gabe Vincent. Maybe it's like, okay, let's keep Gabe Vincent. So your hope is that he kind of at some point, hopefully, fingers crossed, kind of comes around to being the player that you need him to be. But it's the problem. Can he and will he? Well, we're going to find out. But hopefully he kind of figures. I'm not expecting him to be a 15-point-a-game guy. Just like, but can you at least give us, 8 to 10? It's like 3-4 baskets a game. Right? Granted, he's only averaging 4 attempts. So, let's say 40%. So, 6 points a game based on his percentage. Like, that's what you're hoping for. But it's also just his play, period. He just looks lost out there at times. And that's what's frustrating. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that, he's got to go, got to trade him, got to move off him, whatever it takes, figure it out? Do you think no, you should try to keep him, point of attack guard, be an initiator, especially if you trade a D'Lo, something you're going to need somebody that can make plays. Do Again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. And that subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.